In the small farming town of Abbott, Texas, on April 29, 1933, Willie Nelson entered a world that offered little comfort but plenty of quiet lessons. Raised during the difficult years of the Great Depression, he and his sister were cared for by their grandparents after their parents left early in their lives. Their grandparents, Alfred and Nancy Nelson, filled the home with faith, discipline, and music. It was Nancy who ordered songbooks and insisted the children learn music as naturally as they learned to read. At 6 years old, Willie held his first guitar, discovering that melodies could express emotions words often couldn't. The fields around Abbott taught him patience and resilience, while church hymns and radio songs shaped his musical ear. In those early years, he wasn't dreaming of fame. He was simply learning how music could make sense of a complicated world. Music as a first language. By the time Willie was 9, music had already become his language. He played guitar in a local band and began writing simple songs of his own soon after. School never held his attention the way music did. During long Texas summers, he picked cotton and worked alongside adults, learning the value of hard work and quiet perseverance. At night, he listened to gospel, western swing, and blues drifting from radios and nearby dance halls. Each sound blended into his developing style. Even as a child, he sensed that music could carry a person beyond their circumstances. Instead of asking the world for attention, he allowed songs to speak for him. This early relationship with music would become the foundation of everything he built later. What started as a boy's comfort slowly grew into a lifelong companion that never left his side. Searching for a path. After graduating from high school in 1950, Willie stepped into adulthood without a clear map. Like many young men from small towns, he tried several paths before discovering where he truly belonged. He briefly joined the United States Air Force, but health issues ended that chapter early. Back in Texas, he took whatever jobs he could find, selling Bibles door to door, working as a radio disc jockey, and performing in small clubs across the state. None of these roles made him famous or wealthy, but they kept him close to music. Radio stations in Texas and the Pacific Northwest allowed him to connect with listeners directly, learning how powerful a simple voice on the air could be. Those years were uncertain and sometimes exhausting, yet they sharpened his ability to communicate through song. Songs that found other voices. During the early 1960s, Willie began writing songs that would quietly travel far beyond the small rooms where they were created. Compositions like Funny How Time Slips Away and Hello Walls began appearing in the repertoires of other artists. The most famous example arrived when Patsy Cline recorded the haunting ballad, Crazy. The song became a timeless classic, eventually covered by hundreds of performers. Yet at that moment, Willie was still struggling to gain recognition as a performer himself. Nashville admired his songwriting, but wasn't sure what to do with his distinctive voice and relaxed phrasing. While others enjoyed success with his compositions, he continued writing, performing in modest venues, and trusting that his own moment would eventually come. A voice Nashville didn't expect. When Willie moved to Nashville in the early 1960s, the country music industry was dominated by a polished style often called the Nashville sound. Producers preferred smooth voices, orchestral arrangements, and carefully controlled recordings. Willie's approach was different. He sang slightly behind the beat, letting words unfold naturally like conversation. His voice carried texture and emotion rather than studio perfection. For years, record labels tried to reshape his sound, adding orchestration and smoothing out the edges that made him unique. The results were respectable, but never captured the spirit people heard during his live performances. Though these years were challenging, they also strengthened his determination to remain authentic. Instead of abandoning his style, he held on to it patiently, believing that honesty in music would eventually resonate with listeners. A new beginning in Texas. In the early 1970s, Willie returned to Austin, Texas, where a vibrant and unconventional music scene was growing around venues like Armadillo World Headquarters. Young audiences who loved rock, folk, and traditional country gathered in the same rooms, eager for artists who sounded genuine. When Willie stepped on those stages, something clicked instantly. Long hair, simple clothing, and a relaxed stage presence made him feel approachable rather than distant. Listeners responded not just to the music, but to the sincerity behind it. This moment helped spark what would soon be known as the Outlaw country movement. a style that rejected rigid industry formulas in favor of personal expression. For the first time, Willie felt fully understood by his audience. The Outlaw era. The mid-1970s became a turning point. Albums like Red-Headed Stranger showed how powerful simplicity could be. Recorded with minimal instrumentation, the album centered on storytelling and emotion rather than production. Its success surprised many executives, but thrilled listeners who connected with its honesty. Around the same time, collaborations with artists like Waylon Jennings led to the influential album Wanted, The Outlaws, which became one of country music's first platinum records. Willie was no longer the songwriter behind the scenes. He had become a central figure in the genre. The same voice once criticized for being unconventional was now celebrated as unmistakably authentic. The outlaw image that surrounded him was less about rebellion and more about artistic independence. Weathering life's challenges. Like many long careers, Willie's life included moments of serious difficulty. Financial complications in the early 1990s brought unexpected challenges that required determination and creativity to overcome. Instead of retreating, he focused on the one thing that had always sustained him: music. Touring and recording allowed him to reconnect with audiences who had supported him for decades. Fans responded with loyalty, showing how deeply his songs had become part of their own lives. Those years reinforced a truth Willie had understood since childhood, that music was more than entertainment. It was connection, resilience, and sometimes even a path toward rebuilding when circumstances became difficult. Family, home, and reflection. In later years, Willie found a deeper sense of stability with his wife Annie D'Angelo and their family. Their home near Austin became a place where music and everyday life blended naturally. His sons, including Lucas Nelson, followed musical paths of their own, sometimes joining him on stage. Watching the next generation carry forward the spirit of creativity has brought him visible pride. These years have also allowed Willie to slow down slightly, appreciating the simple moments that a life on the road once made difficult to experience. Time with family, quiet mornings, and the Texas landscape surrounding his ranch offer balance to decades spent traveling between cities and stages. The guitar named Trigger. Throughout his long career, one companion has remained constant: his beloved guitar Trigger. Purchased in 1969, the instrument carries a worn hole in its body from years of playing. That wear has become a symbol of devotion rather than damage. Willie never replaced it, believing that the history embedded in its wood could not be duplicated. Over thousands of concerts, the guitar and its owner developed a kind of partnership. The sound audiences here is not just a musician performing, but a conversation between artist and instrument, shaped by decades of shared experience. Like Willie himself, Trigger has aged, yet continues to perform with unmistakable character. A legacy built on honesty. The lasting influence of Willie Nelson cannot be measured only through awards or record sales. His true legacy lives in the emotional connection people feel when his songs play during meaningful moments of their lives. Whether it is a quiet drive at night or a concert crowd singing together, his music carries a rare sense of sincerity. Over more than 7 decades, he remained committed to authenticity, even when it seemed impractical. That dedication shaped a body of work that feels timeless, rather than tied to any single era. Willie's story reminds us that perseverance and honesty often matter more than perfection. The boy who once played guitar in a tiny Texas town built a career that continues to inspire listeners everywhere.